I hope everyone doesn't forget to like before the video starts. But there was another person who made him feel uncomfortable, as an unexpected figure approached Ryu and said, "Black Scythe?" Ryu said, "You are Eomjun Seok?" Ryu remembered his nickname. He was the one who had caught the boss's attention during the High Orc battle, not intentionally, but because he had been frozen in fear. The player inquired, You remember my nickname?" Ryu replied, "I just saw it briefly, but it seems I'm right." After all, he played a significant role in achieving a 1-second record in the time attack. Then Ryu said to himself, "But why is this guy approaching me?" He had never spoken a word to Ryu before, yet here he was, approaching nervously. The player said to himself, "Oh, Black Scythe Nim remembers me. I did good speaking to him." Ryu read his thoughts and saw no ulterior motive. It seemed like a simple greeting. Even knowing this, Ryu bluntly asked, "What do you want from me?" He replied, Well, you saved me back then, and I've been feeling guilty for not thanking you." And Eomjun Seok bowed solemnly and seriously and said, "Thank you for saving my life." Ryu said, "I should be thanking you for drawing the High Orc's aggro." Then he simply nodded and said, "All right, you can go now." Although it was a dismissal, Eomjun Seok didn't move, looking disappointed. Seeing that Ryu said to himself, "Wait, don't tell me?" Then Ryu glanced back and forth between Aged Man Noge and Eomjun Seok. Their gazes seemed similarly devoted, and Ryu said to himself, "It feels like I've gained another follower." Ignoring Ryu's offer to leave, Eomjun Seok continued, "It's an honor to party with Black Scythe. I'm looking forward to working together." Aged Man Noge interrupted his words and said, "Hold on, you're Eomjun Seok, right? What do you mean Black Scythe Nim saved you?" Eomjun Seok detailed the perilous situation he had faced. Aged Man Noge said, That time when Black Scythe Nim appeared." Eomjun Seok said, "Yes, it was truly fortunate." "But you are," Aged Man Noge said. "Sorry for the late introduction. I'm Aged Man Noge. Are you interested in religion?" he inquired. "Religion?" Aged Man Noge replied, "I'm recruiting people for a new cause." The two continued their conversation, leaving Ryu aside. And Ryu smiled and said to himself, "He's trying to recruit followers even now." Aged Man Noge, usually awkward, was eloquent in front of Eomjun Seok, especially when it came to Black Scythe. Although their whispering felt a bit like being a third wheel, it didn't matter to Ryu as long as they didn't bother him, and said to himself, "Let them be. More followers for me isn't bad." Then Elf Ugrito said to everyone, "We will start moving now. Please take care of us. Warriors from the other world." With that as the signal, the caravan started moving. Following the procession of 30 carriages, about 700 players also moved, naturally dividing to escort the carriages on both sides, vigilant for any monster attacks. However, Ryu was distinctly relaxed, as if on a neighborhood stroll, already knowing when and what monsters would appear. And he said, "Harpy, Lizardman, Werewolf. These 3 types will attack alternately every 10 minutes, and we should kill at least 10 per player. It won't be easy for the others." Then one player shouted, "It's a monster! Everyone be careful!" And Harpy attacks began, catching the players off guard facing flying monsters for the first time. But soon, seeing Ryu Min effortlessly slaying harpies, they realized they could attack when the monsters descended. Inspired by Ryu's prowess with his death scythe, players wielded their weapons and skills to protect the elves. Aged Man Noge and Eomjun Seok didn't idle either. Chains and black arrows restrained and pierced the harpies, while Eomjun Seok's sword cleanly sliced through them. Aged Man Noge said, "Thank you, Jun Seok. But, by the way, have you considered my proposal?" He said, "Let's finish this and talk." After that, the harpy hunt ended smoothly, and Ryu said to himself, though swift, they were manageable compared to orcs, and even gave more experience points. Then players sighed in relief after the unexpected flying monster attack. And one said, "Whew, flying monsters, what a surprise." Another said, "But they weren't that tough, right?" And experience points are so little, though. One said, "With 740 of us, what can you expect?" And discussions continued, including admiration for Black Scythe's role. And one said, "Did you see Black Scythe in action? He split them right in two." Another laughed and said, It's the first time I felt sorry for the monsters. Amidst the chatter, Ryu said to himself, this ease will soon turn to sighs, and if they could wish, they would long for a rest. But a grueling journey awaited them, and soon they'll realize. About 3 minutes into the walk, lizardmen ambushed like thieves. And after battling them and before they could rest, werewolves attacked. And after defeating them, harpies and then lizardmen struck again. Then one player shouted, "Isn't this insane? So many monsters are attacking us?" Another said, "Must be like game respawns." In fact, hunting was fine, but they needed breaks. As every 10 minutes, a new wave of monsters appeared, leaving no time to rest between battles and marches. Then aged man Noge gasped and said, "Are you all right, Black Scythe Nim?" Ryu replied, "As you see." In fact, Ryu, unlike his exhausted followers, was energetically distributing stat points, not from leveling up, but from the beads of eternity. And he said to himself, 1 stat point per 100 monsters. Is there a better item than this? Considering the slow leveling at higher ranks, it was a treasure, as his stats from the beads were even surpassing his level-up stats. In any case, Ryu was pleased and said to himself, with so many monsters and the ability to recover durability, I'll be busy allocating stats. Ryu was evenly distributing the 4 types of stats, considering the rune of balance. Through trial and error in his regresses, he found out that balanced stats were strongest. Just as Ryu finished allocating stats, Yugrito urged, "We have a long way to go, warriors from the other world. The monsters seem cleared. Let's move." One player said, "Damn, no rest, and monsters will probably appear again soon." Then players grudgingly stood up and resumed escorting the guild. Despite their reluctance, they had no choice but to move, as failing to protect the Elf Guild meant player extinction. But it wasn't just the escort group moving, as the traitor group is starting to make their move too, and realizing they could be eliminated first. 4 traitors plotted to strike the Elf Guild amidst the monster chaos. But it won't be easy. These aren't ordinary elf merchants, as the merchants driving the carriages were knights guarding the princess. Moreover, the carriage carrying the princess was protected by 2 spells. One spell creates wind blades if the handle is touched, and the other throws intruders into the air. Thurn Ryu said to himself, but what if they successfully capture the princess? Capturing the princess would surely swing the victory to the traitors. And just threaten to kill her, and you will stop the guild. Though the traitors won't know she's inside, but they suspected that the decorated carriage contained valuables. And Ryu added, well, the princess is valuable, so they're on the right track. And as long as you reach Seoul, the path doesn't matter. And the traitors agreed to target the princess's carriage. Then Ryu said to himself, and isn't the next monster to appear the werewolf? And they might not succeed, but I should be prepared. And Ryu subtly moved to a spot out of sight. After that, shouts erupted, monsters! Werewolves! As the werewolves appeared, Ryu activated his skill, Night Death. At that moment, darkness swiftly enveloped the forest, and players initially flustered, calmly faced the monsters, knowing it was Black Scythe's skill. And one player said, looks like Black Scythe used his skill, but it doesn't matter. Another said, I can see still fight even in the dark. But they overlooked one thing. Werewolves become 30% stronger at night, and their eyes turned red, and their claws grew bigger. At that moment, the players panicked, but for the traitors, it was an opportunity. And one traitor said, Black Scythe used his skill for us to operate in the dark. You're the best, Black Scythe! Then they rushed to the decorated carriage, suspecting valuables inside. And one of them said, it must contain something to threaten the elves. Approaching the carriage, they went unnoticed in the darkness, but that was short-lived when one of them touched the carriage handle. His hand was sliced off by the wind blade. His scream alerted the elves, and Yugrito, the elf knight captain, rushed to the princess's carriage, and he inquired, what's happening? A warrior dared to attack the carriage. Another traitor tried to open the carriage, triggering a reverse gravity spell that threw him into the air. Yet, 2 traitors remained, and opening the carriage, they found the princess, Euphenelsia. And one traitor said, we thought it was valuables, but something better. With the princess captured, the game seemed over. Hearing the commotion, Yugrito Drew ran over and shouted, what are you doing? Protect the princess! He stopped mid-sentence, seeing the 2 traitors already lying on the ground, and he inquired, what happened? At that moment, the darkness had lifted, and sunlight bathed the carriage, and a man was kicking the traitors with his foot as if to check if they were unconscious. It was none other than Black Scythe. Ryu did not change his appearance. He knocked out the traitors in the form of Black Scythe as is, and he said to himself, "These guys are as good as dead anyway. I don't even need to kill them." Because the elves are more cold-hearted than one might think, especially towards assassins targeting their princess. They show no mercy. This was why Ryu didn't hide his identity. After all, the only traitor who would survive would be himself.